It's another day here at the Comeback Team Studios. This is your boy, Bek Lover, and welcome to another episode of Interesting Times with Bek Lover, where I jam-pack all the news, all the interesting headlines, all the crazy stories, anything that would be interesting. It doesn't even have to be about politics. It can be about anything. If I think it's interesting enough for you to know, I do all the homework, I put it all together, and I tell you what's going on in this crazy world that we live in, because sometimes fiction is not as strange as reality, folks. And that's what Interesting Times is all about. This is my new podcast, daily. I go over all the interesting stories from around the world, and I jam-pack it to keep you in the know, my friends. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, check out all the content, and behave yourselves. So I'm going to get into all the headlines in the interesting world that we live in, my friends. Here we go. Interesting times. Interesting times indeed, my friends. I'm talking to you from an embattered New York City, flooded with illegal aliens. Crime is through the roof. People are getting shot and stabbed and beaten all the time on the subways. We have not seen these types of violent crimes in our city since the late 80s, early 90s, before the savior of New York City, Rudy Giuliani, took control. I do not recognize my New York. I do not know what's happening. But we're going to get into all the breaking news from here to Sudan to just, there's so much going on. There's a lot of conflicts about to boil and explode all over the world. It's why it's an interesting world indeed, my friends. If we could just all learn how to get along, life would be so much better than it is now. Again, make sure you hit that sub button and let me get into these stories today with you guys. My first story is the most important as far as being a human being is concerned. You know, I take us back to reminding everybody that the Sudan is in serious trouble, okay? Al Jazeera is reporting on behalf of the United Nations, Sudan, one of the worst humanitarian disasters in recent memory. Sudan is suffering one of the worst humanitarian crises in recent history after nearly a year of war. Fighting between the army headed by General Abdel Fattah el-Burhan and the paramilitary rapid support forces led by Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo since last April has killed tens of thousands of people as the threat of famine looms and international interaction is, the world's not doing nothing. That's why this is an issue. By all measures, the sheer scale of humanitarian needs, the numbers of people displaced and facing hunger, Sudan is one of the worst humanitarian disasters in recent memory. More than 18 million Sudanese are facing acute food insecurity, 10 million more than at this time last year, while 730,000 Sudanese children are believed to be suffering from severe malnutrition. And this conflict is showing no sign of slowing down. Millions and millions of people are at risk of starving, and it is a very sad thing indeed. In more, I guess, interesting news, the Associated Press reports the first cyber flasher is convicted under England's new law and gets more than 5 years in prison. I mean, look at this mugshot. This guy looks like the kind of guy you would never leave your daughter next to. This looks like the kind of guy that you would not feel comfortable leaving your children around. He looks like just a disturbed person. England's first convicted cyber flasher was sentenced Tuesday to 5.5 years in prison after sending unsolicited photos of his genitals to a teenage girl and a woman. Those of you out there that are sending these little pictures to women and messages that are unsolicited, okay? I understand you think it's because it's through a phone, that it's no big deal. But if it's not welcomed, it would be the same as doing it in real life, basically. So I guess this law is interesting, and beware, those of you sending dick pics, beware. This guy got 5.5 years for sending a dick pic. There's laws that are changing, that are being updated to catch up to technology. The UK is definitely pushing the envelope in this. Nicholas Hawkes, 39, a convicted offender, was the first person in England and Wales convicted of violating the Online Safety Act, which went into effect January 31st. So it's bad enough that you're going to jail for sending a dick pic. You're the first asshole to get convicted of it. So it's like a double-edged sword. Not only did you get busted for something so stupid, you're the first asshole, and now the whole world knows that you did that. So maybe that's why he looks happy in this picture. I don't know. Cyber flashing is a serious crime which leaves a lasting impact on victims, but all too often it can be dismissed as thoughtless banter or a harmless joke, said Hannah van Delsen, a deputy chief with the Crown Prosecution Service. Just as those who commit indecent exposure in the physical world can expect to face the consequences, so too should offenders who commit their crimes online. Hiding behind a screen does not hide you from the law. Hawkes was on the offenders register after being convicted last year of exposure and sexual activity with a child under 16. He pleaded guilty. So I guess the reason, because, to me, it's like, okay, 5.5 years for that? No, but he has previous offenses. They were involving minors. The picture went to a minor. So there you go. If you're watching this and you're young, you need to be really careful what you do. I've had my accounts hacked in the past, and I had people sending all kinds of disgusting shit through my phone, and I didn't even know that it was being done until I realized my account was taken over. So it's like crazy because someone could even just hack into your account and send that type of content out into the world. The Commercial Bank of Ethiopia. This is a very interesting story. The Commercial Bank of Ethiopia warns no escape for clients who profited from a glitch. So there was a massive glitch in the Ethiopian Central Bank. Millions and millions of dollars went to people's accounts, and they're very poor, one of the more poorest nations on the face of the planet, okay? And they saw this money go into their accounts, and they woke up with, it's just crazy. This story's crazy. Commercial Bank Ethiopia customers rushed to take out money or transfer it to other accounts. The head of Ethiopia's biggest commercial bank has told the BBC that customers who withdrew more money than was in their accounts because of a glitch cannot escape the law. So there was basically customers had withdrawn 40 million. That was not there, saying the amount taken was far smaller, but it will accurately be determined after an audit is completed later this week. Mr. Abe said the audit has been done because some of the 10,000 customers who retrieved the money during the glitch conducted legitimate transactions. He told a press conference that a total of 490,000 transactions had been made before the problems were noticed. Mr. Abe noted that the majority of those who had withdrawn excess money were students. News of the glitch spread across universities. Largely messaging apps, phone calls, and long lines were seen on campus. Mr. Abe previously said anyone returning money would not be charged. So basically, they had a glitch. Okay, the money went into the accounts, and now they want the money back. People that are very poor and desperate. I got to say, if I woke up and found 50, 60, 70, 80, 100 grand in my account, and I lived in Ethiopia, it's a couple $1 million, I probably would draw this shit, go off the grid, and never be seen ever again. Probably what I would have done. What would you do? Drop a comment. If your bank accidentally deposited 10 or $20 million into your account, and you had about a few 4 or 5 days or a week to really make a move with that before they caught on to the mistake, what would you do? Give me a serious answer. What would you do? 10 million in your account. It's not yours. You know it's not yours. You know they must have made a mistake. You got about a week to take that money out and do something with it, or move, or don't, or leave it, or tell the bank. What would you do? Drop a comment. I want to know how interesting you are. The Irish Prime Minister is quitting. This is reported by Reuters. Leo Varadkar said on Wednesday he would step down as Ireland's prime minister in a surprise move, saying the country's coalition government would stand a better chance of re-election under another leader. He asked his Fine Gael party to elect a new leader ahead of its annual conference on April 6th. Parliament would then vote on the person succeeding him as prime minister after it returns from the Easter break on April 9th. The shock departure of Varadkar, who became the first gay prime minister of the once staunchly Catholic country in 2017 and returned to the premiership just 15 months ago, does not trigger a general election. A vote must be held by March 2025. My reasons for stepping down are both personal and political. Varadkar, 45, told a hastily arranged news conference, government buildings in Dublin surrounding emotional as he spoke. But after careful consideration and some soul searching, I believe that a new prime minister and a new leader will be better placed than me to achieve the coalition's government. His successor will have 12 months to try to claw back the wide opinion poll-led the main opposition Sinn Féin party. The former political wing of the IRA, Irish Republican Army, has over both Fine Gael and their main coalition party. So he stepped down unexpectedly. Why do you think this guy stepped down? I do not know. Interesting, though. So, next headline: U.S. drops. This is this one's a bitter one. This one right here, a little bitter. Every year they have a global ranking of the happiest countries in the world. The U.S., reported by NPR, the U.S. drops a new global happiness ranking. One age group bucks the trend. How happy are you? The Gallup World Poll has a simple way to gauge well-being around the globe. Imagine a ladder and think about your current life. The top rung, 10, represents the best possible life, and the bottom rung, 0, represents the worst. Pick your number. Researchers use the responses to rank happiness in countries around the globe, and the 2024 results have just been released. This year, Finland is at the top of the list. Researchers point to factors including high levels of social support and healthy life expectancy to explain the top perch of several Scandinavian countries. North America does not fare well overall. As a nation, the United States dropped in the global ranking from 15th to 23rd place. But researchers point to striking generational divides. People aged 60 and older in the U.S. reported high levels of well-being compared to younger people. In fact, the U.S. ranks in the top 10 countries for happiness in this age group. So if you're above 60 and older, baby boomers, I think is what that age group, you're much happier than the rest of people under your age. It's probably because you guys are really well established. Things were cheaper. You lived your lives. And now that the world's ending, you guys don't care. Conversely, there's a decline in happiness among younger adolescents and younger adults in the U.S. The report finds there's a dramatic decrease in the self-reported well-being of people aged 30 and below. This drop among young adults is also evident in Canada, Australia, and to a lesser extent in parts of Western Europe. So basically the Western nations. We knew that a relationship existed between age and happiness, but the biggest surprise is that it is more nuanced than we previously thought, says Ilana Ron Levy, managing director at the Gallup poll. In North America, youth happiness has dropped below that of older adults. Ron Levy says the rankings are based on responses from a sample of about 1,000 respondents in each country. There are a range of factors that likely explains these shifts. So America quality of life continues to fall. And if we look at the world happiness rankings, if I pull this up here, I can see, wonder who the top, I don't know, but the top 10 countries have remained the same. Denmark now very close with all 5 Nordic countries, but the next 10, there is more change. Happiness by age groups. I'd like to just see the chart, but you should pull this up. It's very interesting. The Gallup poll on world happiness. Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, praises very valuable potential of Gaza's waterfront property. Now, this has gone viral over the last day. In the video, Jared Kushner is speaking to someone that's basically interviewing him, and he responds with, Gaza's waterfront property, it could be very valuable if people would focus on building up livelihoods. Kushner said in an interview dated February 15th, posted earlier this month on the YouTube channel of the Middle Eastern Initiative. is a little bit of an unfortunate situation there, but I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. I don't know, does that sound like another word for ethnically cleanse? You have a group of people that live there. They're called Palestinians from Gaza. You want to move them out of Gaza and then clean it up. That's a nice way of saying ethnically cleanse them. Jared Kushner. And I want to draw down on Jared Kushner, regardless of where you stand on this issue. If you do not think that the Palestinian people have a right to live anywhere on that land, then you have lost your humanity as a human being. Some people believe in a two-state solution. Some believe in one state. Some believe that it should all go back to Palestine. The truth is, I do not know how to fix this problem. I just want the killing to stop immediately. It's horrible, and it's been going on for just way too long. But to remind you, I'd like to play a soundbite. If I have this plugged in correctly, I'd like to play a soundbite from that. And let's see if I can get this up.
It could be very valuable to if people would focus on kind of building up, livelihoods. So I think that it's a little bit of an unfortunate situation there. But I think from Israel's perspective, I would do my best to move the people out and then clean it up. I think proactively recognizing a Palestinian state would essentially be rewarding an act of terror.
I mean, are we?
So basically, yeah. Basically, but now I want to show you this video, and you can listen to it from 6 years ago, okay? When his father-in-law was the president of the United States of America. He moved the American embassy to Jerusalem, which was a de facto recognition that the Palestinians would never get their piece of Jerusalem, is what that all meant under Trump, guys. So for those of you that this is your main voting issue, you want the Palestinians to have their freedom, to be recognized by the U.S., you do not have a candidate that cares about them. The Israeli agenda was pushed more by Jared Kushner than anyone else in our government during the Trump administration. That's a fact.
The Middle East peace process.
And he was very close to Benjamin Netanyahu. I saw videos of him, Benjamin Netanyahu, speaking about his relationship with Jared Kushner since he was a kid. Very close friendship here, which shows why a lot of his policies while he was with Trump echo what Benjamin Netanyahu basically wants for Israel, which I believe is an ethnically cleansed Israel of every last Arab or Palestinian citizen of that country, I think. And that's the way it's going. So very, very close relationship, these two. And I do not think this war is benefiting Israel at all. Their public image has gone down enormously, in my opinion, especially globally. After non-binding motion, Canada to halt arm exports to Israel. Here's one of those things. The Times of Israel reports Ottawa will stop future arms exports to Israel. Canadian Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly said Tuesday, a day after Canada's parliament passed a non-binding motion on the issue. It is a real thing, indicating that the move will not just be symbolic. The motion was a part of a larger vote calling in the international community to work towards a two-state solution to resolve the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians. So that's, like I said, this thing is just getting, a lot of people to really look differently at Israel, and I don't think it's going to benefit them in the long run. Donald Trump is in trouble. He may not pay the bond and instead let Letitia James seize Trump Tower. This is New York Post reporting. Donald Trump faces a Monday deadline to post a $500 million bond in the civil fraud case against him in New York. The ex-president reportedly has been struggling to raise the cash for the bond, either from the banks or the wealthy friends, with his lawyers claiming on Monday that it was practically impossible. While some reports have raised speculation that Trump may go nuclear with a Chapter 11 filing to protect his prized real estate assets across Manhattan, experts say bankruptcy would create unwelcome complications as the 2024 election season comes to a head. Okay. A third possibility, however, is to let the deadline pass, leaving it to New York Attorney General Letitia to seize Trump's bank accounts or buildings, including Trump Tower, from which he declared his 2026 presidential run, and which famously includes his personal penthouse. So all of this is going on while the guy's running for president, by the way. But it was going on while he was president. I've never seen a more attacked president in my life. Another headline that was interesting here from the New York Post: Glassdoor meltdown as users urged to flee site after posters' real names added without permission. So in a nutshell, Glassdoor is like a website where you could go on. You know, we all have that one boss or that one piece of shit coworker that's doing something evil, and you want to be able to blow the whistle. And we all know that HR ain't there to help you as an employee. As someone that worked many corporate jobs, who had to deal with HR, who tried to make them aware of issues that were unethical and that were going on, they always turned a deaf ear. And for some reason, I always ended up being the one leaving the company. Because in today's world, instead of doing what's right, companies will protect these types of evil-ass people that work for them so that none of this shit gets out to the press and their stock prices drop. So Glassdoor was created to basically, you could go on there and air your company's shit out anonymously. Now, tons of people did this shit. And now Glassdoor has seemed to been going on and maybe putting people's real names there, which is now very scary to those people that posted, because now those companies would know who aired out their dirty laundry. Always use a fake name when you want to air someone out online, guys. Every smart troll knows that. Cuba's been showing protests, U.S. comments following protests against power, blackouts, food shortages. Hundreds of thousands of people are protesting, which is very dangerous to do in Cuba because they are under a dictatorship and still run as a communist country. I think if this desperation continues, their government will finally collapse, and that communist piece of shit regime can once and for all fade into the sunset. The IDF admits Houthis have penetrated Eilat missile defense for the first time. The IDF said it's probing why the missile was not shot down. Jerusalem Post. The IDF late Tuesday night admitted for the first time that Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen had penetrated the country's missile air defense. Although the IDF did not specifically identify the Houthis, the Iranian-backed group in Yemen has tried to strike Israel with ballistic missiles numerous times for months. And this is why this issue continues to escalate. There wasn't that much crazy, interesting news, except that everyone thought that Kate Middleton had died, the Princess of the UK, and all this other crazy shit. In any event, there's not that much going on that's changed in the last few days. You watched this episode of Interesting Times with Bek Lover. I want to thank you for being a part of my life and letting me be a part of yours. Make sure you check out all the amazing content. Follow me on Instagram. And I'll see you next time. Interesting Times with Bek Lover.